Well, for this session, we thought we would do something a little different because we thought it would be fun to get together a herd of unicorns. And once we had them here on stage, to make sure we got the best possible amount of wisdom from them, Ramya and I thought that we would just shoot questions at them one by one and see what kind of responses we would get. But most importantly, you're going to see us roaming amongst you because nothing would be more fun for our speakers than to hear from you all in the audience. So we've got some questions, we're going to look to you for some questions, and we've got some really good sports who are joining us now on stage to take them. So let's start by introducing Paul Haynes, President and Chief Operating Officer of eSentire of Canada, Dr. Mikayel Vardanyan, Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Picsart, Thompson, Vice President, Chief Information Security Officer at Mysten Labs, Vardanyan, CEO and co-founder of Liquidity, and Sandeep Deshmukh, co-founder of Elastic.Run.
Okay, it's wonderful to have you guys here. I'm sure Sandeep will join us momentarily. Here he comes. And the first question is for Mr. J. Paul Haynes. Do you agree that the world is in a state of data colonialism where a few big tech giants are profiting from people's data for free?
Well, of course, that's obvious. We have not educated the consumers that every time they adopt a free service, the actual price tag for that is their privacy and all of the data that they run their lives with.
Do you want to elaborate, Paul? You have a moment.
Well, we're in the business of protecting customers, and as much as we talk about all of the data that is getting traded and brokered on the internet, there's a lot of data that's still in the possession of the customers, and in fact there's so many copies of the data out there. When you look at the stats on the information explosion, a lot of it is duplicate data. When we do analysis on customers for critical data, if they're trying to adopt a data protection strategy, which is sort of an advanced level in cybersecurity, few firms achieve it, we will find, we'll find the same document 10 different times scattered on people's hard drives and file servers and databases. And so it's a proliferation of data. It's not just the big tech giants causing the problem. These are self-inflicted wounds, but nobody in the industry took the time to pause, and they wanted to enable the business, and the business always wins, and security is always playing catch-up.
Okay, that's disheartening. Who in the audience has a question for our panelists? I know Anne has a question in the meantime while you guys come up with yours.
Thompson. When it comes to the field of security, we're seeing AI making more decisions. To what degree can we trust that AI can make sound assessments and sound decisions?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I'm not sure that we can trust it at the moment, right? It's still nascent. So I think there's definitely some time for it to prove out the models. And I think to your point, security will follow behind it. We'll run into a number of problems, I'm sure, before we come to a series of solutions that allow us to be comfortable with that technology, probably. But clearly, even with that, it's like any new technology, super exciting. The benefits that we'll get from it will be immense. But protecting ourselves both from it, well, primarily, I think will be a challenge. Be fun though too. It'll be a great experience.
Ron, what does it mean that your fund is AI based? What is an AI based fund?
Today when you look at the asset management business, in reality, what's happening is that behind the scene, everything is run by analysts. They do all the work manually, try to figure out whether to give debt to someone. Is it a better debt opportunity or equity opportunity? And at the end of the day, when you look at the big asset management firms, most of them are thousands and thousands of analysts doing untyped work. And this is this is not particularly scalable, right? Because the more decision they have to make, they deteriorate the quality of the decision because there are not enough experts to know what's happening. And so Liquidity, the last 7 years, what we've done, we developed a deep machine learning technology that now is training the AI models to take to the next level. And all due diligence is done by a machine. And the expert can only sit in the junction and see what is the best for the decision. By doing that, a single expert, instead of doing, for example, 10 good decisions a year, suddenly can do 1,000 decisions a year. And when you deploy capital at scale, and what we do is we lending to late-stage tech companies capital at scale. So it can range anywhere between $5 million ticket to $150 million ticket. You want to make fast decision, but you want to be accurate because you cannot afford yourself a single loss. And the AI machine basically enable the expert to do that at a high velocity.
So this comes back to the question of if we can trust the AI to make the right decisions. And we have a question from the audience.
But I do want to answer what you asked. I think you cannot trust the AI to do the right decision. But what you trust the AI is to do the work that men are not particularly good at. And this is to track in parallel multiple different parameters and present to the human the best possible outcomes. But decision should be made by a human being.
Hi, my name is Harish. My question is, as a layman, not an expert, I think, is there too much of hype on AI than the reality, and can it be compared to the dot-com bust that we had in early 2000, or it is something that is evolving and it is going to be here to stay and with a lot of benefits and maybe side effects, I don't know. And is there any way there is a correlation between Web3 and AI? Because I see a lot of cryptos are coming out with AI-based business models. Thank you.
Is the question for me?
For whoever would like to take it.
I can give my take. And I think that at the end of the day, LLM model and what we call generative AI is a new way to arrange data. And every time in human society, since the dawn of history, when there were a new way to organize data, the entire society been changed over a period of few hundred, few tens of decades, few years, etc. So I definitely think that AI is here to stay. It's going to make a revolution that we cannot even imagine right now, because we're going to be able to digest enormous amount of data very quickly. So for your question, the answer is absolutely, it's going to stay.
Dr. Mikayel, I think, wants to add to that.
Also, we are doing the largest design platform, and we are in creativity space. So Gen AI especially helped us to provide better and faster solutions with its help. So I do believe it's more comparable for me to introduction of electricity versus to anything else, because it's applicable. It will definitely stay. It solves real problems, and it will keep learning and solving much harder and complex problems, as we already have seen it, even throughout these 2 years, how fast it evolved and what kind of complexity of the problems it started to solve. What relates to trusting it, I do believe it depends on what kind of problems we trust it to make decisions on. Certain problems, of course, we should trust it because there is less risk. Even if something wrong, it's better to make it faster. Other stuff, I believe we should double check, review, and it should be still manually be done, even later on. So that's how we see it, and that's how we also focus on it and investing into it right now.
Dr. Mikayel, while we've got you over here on the right of the stage, time to send a question to you, sir. What is your greatest regret as a founder?
Very tricky question. I do believe founders usually do not have any regrets, because from the first day it's just learning mistakes, and that's how it works. We learn how to do it, and we are doing it up until now. Probably it's more about how to focus on making things faster and executing things faster. Maybe one of the regrets I have, and also maybe not overhiring, which also one of the common mistakes. But again, saying it's regret is not true, because you need to make it in order to learn. Because even if people telling you, all of them did the same mistakes and all of them learned that way. So maybe those two to highlight.
We have a question from the audience teed up for after Ramia's next one.
I'd like to ask Sandeep, what's the dark side of being a unicorn, Sandeep? The dark side of being a unicorn.
I wish there were none, but there are several pitfalls. I think one of the earlier question, that what are the regrets that you would have done, how we could have done things differently, that also correlates with the dark side of being unicorn. Once you get stamped as a unicorn, there are certain expectations you're supposed to be delivering at certain level, but at times your decisions may not need such large solutions. The decisions could be very, very simple. We would love to stay out of media glare, stay at home, make the right decisions. It does not happen. Every small decision that we take, especially on the team, retrenchment, it gets amplified, and that media glare, I think impacts the decision making. I think that is the darker side of being an unicorn.
Maybe to add here, because we are also unicorns since 2021. It's for us, it's just setting a new bar for ourselves and from outsiders, and that bar kind of helps you to learn faster, better, and try to achieve much more. But that's just a milestone.
Hi, my name is Alia. I am the features editor at Entrepreneur Middle East. It's not very often that I get to sit across 5 unicorns, so I couldn't pass up on this opportunity. I have 2 questions. I'll ask the first, I'll ask the second if I'm given the chance to. My first question is, did you start out with the ambition or an end goal of becoming a unicorn? I'm asking this because a lot of entrepreneurs we speak to tend to seek out quick wins. And so what would your advice be to budding entrepreneurs or new startup founders who want to become unicorns in the future, but how can they sort of pace that goal?
I would say at the time in 2010, I don't even think the term unicorn existed. We had a very aligned strategy to grow dramatically and dominate a market by creating a disruptive technology. And the valuation is what it is. That's set externally by the markets. So a lot of the unicorns of 2021 aren't unicorns anymore, but they may grow back into it. So it's all like the market gets a vote, right? And that's how. But to build a unicorn, it was never, as a founder, the goal. I don't know about the others.
Yeah, I think it's one of the common mistakes I have seen recently, especially during this COVID era startups, when people are thinking becoming unicorns without thinking how to solve certain problems first. Because for us was always about vision and mission, and all the rest is just byproduct of what you are doing and how well you are doing, and that's just validation that you are moving right and fast.
I think I'm going to diverge a little bit from that, and the way that I would diverge is this. All tech has a life cycle, and that life cycle is very different for anything that you build. The thing that won't expire is people. So if you surround yourself with people that are just totally remarkable, you'll find that life cycle of the things that you're building will expire and something else new will come. So I'm a huge proponent of just surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, and let the chips fall where they may.
I think starting with the target of building a unicorn, I think that will be a wrong target to start with, because you build what you build a product, and being unicorn is a validation from external entity. You can't time it. you don't know when the markets will be up and down, when the interest rates will be up and down. I would suggest entrepreneurs need to focus on building the right product, right offering, and if it is solid, the markets will realize it at some point of time and assign the right valuation. But it has to be the product first thing.
We're going to take another question from the audience before handing back to Ramya. So lady here.
Good afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure to see so many of you unicorns right there. I'd love to know how you all are prepping your business models for an AGI and ASI world.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear what you asked.
How are you prepping your business models for an AGI and an ASI world?
So I give you my answer, okay? We don't. I think that when you build a company, and we spoke about unicorns like a minute ago, the goal is to build a sustainable business. And sustainable business is agile by definition, okay? You have your core business model that shouldn't be changed too often. And on top of this, which is like the main cohort of the business, you can then adjust 20, 30% of your budget to experiment what will work and what doesn't work, okay? And you can only discover that through experience. So you have to adjust some of your budget to these experiments, and then you find out as you go what is the business. You can never know in advance. So you stick to what works at 70%, and the rest is adjusted.
In our world, the security is always a fast follow, so you have to wait for the vulnerability to show up or the type of hacking pattern to show up. So it's no shortage. Generative AI is already proving to be a new vulnerability. You heard it here first. It's the next new permanent category of risk for businesses, from Fortune 500 all the way down, governments, everyone else who's using it. So we've already been able to create new products to test firms' vulnerability, find out how many times they've exfiltrated company secrets to a public generative AI. That happens all the time. That'll get taken care of within a year or so, I would submit. But then internal poisoning of AI servers is the next threat on the horizon. You look at Copilot, Microsoft's great productivity tool, but it's actually being gamed by adversaries now, just like PowerShell was previously. So it goes on and on. Great opportunity for our business. And Collins?
Christian, what is the most impressive startup? What is the most impressive startup?
Like in general?
Like in general.
Wow. I mean, I'm going to say we are. I'll toot our own horn a little bit. Our team in particular are mostly VPs or C-suites from Facebook. And we left I'm not one of the founders, but we all left a pretty amazing place to change the future of the internet. And so we're slowly here building the cornerstones of what we believe will be Web3. And part of that, of course, is AI. Part of that is AR, VR. Some of that is decentralization and sort of how that's taken care of. And so, I think that, this particular space is an amazing sort of ripe with opportunity for sure. So, yeah.
We are at the 5-minute mark, so I'm going to send one question out to Sandeep, and then let's see if someone on Ramya's side of the stage has our final audience question. So Sandeep, as a founder, what's your dream exit? Are you gunning for an IPO? Are you looking for a strategic? Do you want to stay private forever?
We are not looking for funding. Yeah, going for an IPO would be target in next few years. I think from a cash position perspective, I think we are pretty well set. From the profitability side, I think we are doing fairly well. Going for the IPO markets, I think that's the next transition for us to learn what it means to be a listed company, and then getting ready for the IPO.
We have a question from the back here. Go ahead.
So hi, my name is Jimmy James. So I run a community for startup founders. I myself am a founder. So my question is, what is the shortest time or the fastest time in which any unicorn have come out of the startup ecosystem?
What is the fastest time that any unicorn
Yeah,
has
the
come
shortest
out
time
of?
that the startup ecosystem has seen for a startup to become a unicorn.
The fastest time for a startup to become a unicorn.
I want to start this time. Okay. So I want to start this time. I think the term unicorn is a bit misused here because valuation doesn't necessarily justify what the real value of a company is. Okay. The question of valuation is how much money this startup actually need through its life cycle to fulfill its goal. I give you an example. In some area, it takes $1 billion just to get from 0 to 1. In other area, with $5 million, you can get from 0 to 100. And so valuation, a lot of time is being defined, but what makes sense to investor in the cut in the company it needs to acquire in order to enable the company to fulfill its goal. So if it's $1 billion cash required company, it doesn't make sense to do around at 100 million, right? You will need to price the company at day one in 3 billion just to get the 1 billion at 30% of the company. So the term unicorn is not necessarily justified. Is it a unicorn company? A unicorn company, in our point of view, and in Liquidity, we analyzed about 40,000 different unicorns in the last 7 years. 40,000 startups, out of which, of course, most of the main unicorns are our clients and we're lending money to. A unicorn company is a company that can generate hundreds of millions of dollars of revenues while keeping unique economic making sense. So a company that grows 500% year over year, but it costs the company $1 to generate 99 cents will never be a unicorn in our point of view, right? Because you want that on the unique economic, the business will make sense. So I hope this answers your question.
Data-driven wisdom there from Vardanyan at Liquidity. That is it, folks. This has been a fantastic conversation. A big round of applause for our 5 unicorn leaders.
Thank you to our unicorns representatives. Thank you so much for your contributions and your insights today. We wish we could chat all afternoon. Unfortunately, we have run out of time.
Thank you all.